land use intensification and sustainability as a cloud with a silver lining. Avocados are my usual crop, but in the Bay of Plenty at the moment, blueberries are a hot topic. They're using land from marginal growing areas or from less intensive crops in agriculture to plant around 4,300 plants per hectare with a planned profit of over $80,000 a hectare. In the last few weeks, I have had the chance to look into how intensive blueberries, in particular a company called Berry Co, and how they are faring with regard to the three pillars of sustainability: environmental, economic, and social. On the economic side, blueberries are providing individuals and multi-trusts opportunities to utilise their land better and produce higher returns. A lot of thought has gone into the difference between, say, growing maize on 150 hectares and cutting 10 hectares off the edge to intensively produce blueberries. As for environmental, they have many policies in place committing them to the protection of the environment and the efficient use of natural resources. They use a combination of runoff monitoring and precise fertigation in order to increase nutrient efficiency, reduce water use, and reduce wastage. Also, blueberry plants have low nitrate reductase activity, which means they don't use a lot of nitrates, a staple for many other crops. With the systems in place, there is the ability to collect these nitrates and use them to fertilise other crops, for example, avocados. In terms of social sustainability, they are providing jobs for iwi and hapu through a Meadow Mahi initiative with partner company Meadow. This creates opportunities for Māori on Māori land, the benefits of which were explained to me as kaitiakitanga, where people have a connection to or a guardianship of the land that they work on. It's also labour intensive at complementary times for other crops, so they can help to provide continuity of work and are currently working with the apple industry to achieve this. The blueberry industry seem to be focused on the three pillars of sustainability: economic, social and environmental, whilst growing intensively and supplying high quality products that the consumer desires. The high intensity blueberry model is only new. However, if they remain focused, they may prove to be a great example of sustainable intensification. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Danny, in the Bay of Plenty, your job involves a lot of analysis, a lot of work with data. How much of your work would sustainability be part of? How much time would you devote to that in what you're doing?
Currently, we are working on a project or coming up with a project on leaching and looking at how much nitrogen leaching we actually have in avocado orchards, but I would say that the industry does have a little way to go with sustainability, and not a lot of my time is spent specifically on sustainability.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker this afternoon is Matt Gold from Gisborne.
Good afternoon, guys. Healthy soil is a fundamental to a healthy environment. Soils can take thousands of years to develop. Production is directly affected by soil health, and land management practices affect the biological, physical, and chemical composition of soils. The land sustains every aspect of our lives, providing fundamental life support systems and the foundation of our economy and society. We need to be the kaitiaki of our land. We are the caretakers of the future for our children, grandchildren, and their children. As an industry, we are responsible to act yesterday, with that urgency to deal with the issues before they are issues. We have the ability to scope the future needs by projecting the cause and effect actions on our industry, and more importantly, the soil we grow in. In my opinion, the way our industry is progressing at the moment is cause for celebration. With the positive direction we are moving, and this is a cloud with a silver lining. The way we are now researching the soil we grow our crops on and in is at a level where we know what nutrients we're taking out of the soil so we can replace them accordingly. And with this being done, I believe we as a whole are doing an excellent job of maintaining great soil around the country. Back when fruit growing was a hobby or a necessity for family survival and not a job or an industry for that matter, they had little concept of the impact their growing was having on the land. Growers were doing what they had always done and what their forebears had done. Many of the practices were brought out from the old country. They had limited knowledge of what nutrients the tree or crop itself was taking out of the soil, and they had no means of replacing it. Therefore, the stripping of nutrients was a more than common occurrence. Back in the day, soil seemed to have the ability to keep growing the tree or produce with sufficient nutrients without any issues. This may be attributed to the stored nutrients that we now know take thousands of years to produce. With the growing markets and demand for produce, growing fruit has become an industry, and issues such as row spacing and row widths are a major part of the science of growing in a sustainable manner. It has been discovered that the pesticides commonly used to prevent disease and improve yields are hazardous to the environment. Many are no longer used, but some still are. It is important for our industry to investigate and the impact all added nutrients and chemicals can have on the health of the environment in which we grow. It is no longer acceptable to ignore our responsibilities. We need to become responsible growers. We as a responsible industry have had to develop ways to produce the biggest crops we can on the same area of land and still remain a viable operation. To do this, researchers arrived at the concept of dwarf trees, giving the industry smaller trees that can still produce as much packed fruit as older, bigger trees, but using less space. In light of recent headlines highlighting the use of rootstock from overseas, growing our own rootstock and seedlings in our clean green environment, as opposed to importing these resources, may be another aspect of our industry we need to look at. The potential to destroy our sustainability and contaminate our soil by using quick fix methods may not be economically or ethically responsible in the long term. It is said that the history of every nation is eventually written in the way in which it cares for its soil.
Thanks, Matt. In my country, we have a war on waste at the moment, which is has relative levels of success at the moment. So do you see this as very positive for your country, this notion of sustainability?
Yes, I think the way we're going about sustainability is definitely in the right direction, but I think as a whole, as an industry, we could be doing more.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker this afternoon is from Hawke's Bay, Lisa Arnold.
Thanks, Sean. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along. Our land use is intensifying. We're striving to produce higher and higher crop yields, but this comes at a cost. Soil compaction, erosion, nutrient leaching, and heavy chemical use. We can do better. There is a silver lining to this cloud. It all starts with our soil. And when it comes to our soil, it's all about balance. We're pretty good at looking at our soil test results and knowing what nutrients we need to put in to grow our crop. We understand the chemical and physical aspects of soil fertility, but this is all out of balance with our biological fertility. Our soils are alive. There is a vast population of organisms supporting our soil, feeding the nutrient cycle and creating good soil structure. Did you know that just 1 gram of soil contains hundreds of millions of microorganisms? We now have lab tests available which measure the level of microorganisms in our soil. It's a relatively new test for New Zealand. It's a missing element of soil health that we have long overlooked. Once we start to appreciate the hugely important role that soil biology plays, we can adopt growing practices that support the soil rather than destroy it. Unfortunately, our horticulture industry is heavily reliant on glyphosate weed killer. In the past decade, we have used over 6 billion kilograms of glyphosate worldwide. As well as being harmful to human health, There is research to show that glyphosate is harmful to earthworms and beneficial mycorrhizal fungi in our soils. At Bostock, New Zealand, where I work, our company mission statement is to farm in a sustainable manner as a guardian of the land for future generations. In order to achieve this, we've gone organic. We've found a great solution for weed control on our developing organic apple orchards by using hay as a mulch. The hay mulch gives the soil a real boost as it adds organic matter, helps retain moisture, and provides an environment where soil organisms can thrive. Growing cover crops in the off-season is another great organic way to support our soil. Cover crops suppress weed growth, prevent soil erosion, and add organic matter. In the winter, we sow mustard plants on our cropping paddocks. This has the added benefit of acting as a biofumigant to suppress unwanted soil pathogens. If we want the children of our future to continue to grow healthy, high-yielding crops, we need to start acting as guardians of our land. We need to appreciate and nourish our soil biology. Organic growing practices are our silver linings, allowing us to create healthy soils and a sustainable growing future. Thank you.
Lisa, I know that you're a passionate organic grower.
Yep.
We've had chats about that, and I know Balance are very happy with you at the moment, because you mentioned Balance a few times. Do you think there are lessons to be learned from the past, as opposed to just pushing on with technology from this point on?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we look back to the past, we can see some of the things that we've done right in growing, and learn from those lessons in order to move forward and grow crops better.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker this afternoon has made his way here from the Punjab, Mr. Gurjant Singh.
Good afternoon, everybody. Soil is quite important for the growth of horticulture industry. Cloud is potentially damaging the soil by intensive use. Housing crisis put a lot of pressure on fertile soil areas. Food demand will be doubled due to increasing population, and this is not a relief for soil health. Current ways of farming are similar of growing produce what was decades back. We have to produce more per hectare to feed the increasing population. New Zealand's 17% GDP directly depends on New Zealand soil. On the other hand, the silver lining, this is an opportunity to moving forward to adapt new ways of farming, growing food. There's a few things we can do. World is adapting these ones. For outdoor growing, controlled traffic farming system is built on permanent wheel tracks where the crop zone and traffic lanes are permanently separated. It can improve profitability and sustainability. According to research, 2 to 16% increase in yield by adapting this method, and up to 25% reduction in fuel costs. There would be another option, growing indoor. Growing vegetables in controlled environments can increase yield massively. We can capture water, we can recycle it. There's less water is needed to grow 1 kilo of a product in compared to outdoor. According to a research, we need 60 liters of water to produce 1 kilo of tomatoes. But if we grow indoor, we just need 21 liters. In conclusion, we need a national framework who can monitor soil health in New Zealand, also enabling primary sector, landowners, and other users who can use it without interrupting their businesses. Thank you.
Roseanne, I'm interested when you say grow indoors. So have you got examples where, you know, around the world where you might have seen that, or are you aware of that?
Yes, so growing indoor means soilless media into a rock wool or cocoa peat. So we can use this media. They have a better water holding capacity. And all the water that drain out, the leaching, we can collect it.
Okay. Right, sounds like a great idea. Yes. Oh, thanks, Danny. I know we're slow in Australia, though. Not very good at rugby either. I mentioned the wall. Our next speaker this afternoon is Hamish Dale.
So, I'd like to start by discussing the situation, and it's getting fairly dire. As Gurjant said, we've got a booming world population. We're expecting 10 billion people by 2050. Now, I'm not very good at maths, but that means we need to be producing 1.5 times the amount of food that we currently are. And we need to do that with less land area, with potentially degraded soil, less water, and we're doing it with higher economic risk. And as you'll all be well aware, orchardists today may be retrieving a similar income to what they used to back in the day, but we have far more debt than we've ever seen before. And at the same time, we're under the most scrutiny that the industry has ever seen. Sprays and irrigation are under the spotlight from legislators and consumers. It seems like a storm is on the way, and the only answer is intensification of the land. And you can see that. We've gone from 500 trees a hectare to over 2,000 in places. Are we at capacity? How will we know when we are at capacity? There will get to a point where we can physically fit no more trees into the land. And so then we need to turn to the soil to look to increase our yields. Soil is therefore vital in order for us to achieve intensified land use sustainably. My core argument is to make our intensified use of soil sustainable, we need to go back to the basics, the core ingredients to growing plants well. Soil is a system, and we can't afford to forget that. I believe there is too much focus on synthetic fertilisers, and they come with well-known risks. Overuse can cause eutrophication, toxicity, salinification, or even infertility of soil. And to steal a bit of Lisa's thunder, we've forgotten the value of organic matter. It holds soil aggregates together, which is better for soil stability and stops erosion. It breaks down, with the help of microbes, into the essential minerals that plants can then use again. It increases the holding capacity of the soil for those essential minerals and ingredients. And it also increases the water holding capacity of the soil, which makes our irrigation more effective, which then in turn reduces our risk of salinification. I simply beg the question, what happened to the old days of going out to the chicken farm and retrieving the manure? Or running sheep through the orchard post-harvest, who helped break down that organic matter and break it into those organic materials that we desperately need. We are stuck in a mindset that when we get a soil test, we only fix those set nutrients that we're missing. We don't treat the soil as a whole. Let's not forget that it is a system. Let's treat it accordingly, rather than just as a holder for nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. I believe that it is this shift in attitude that we need to boost the sustainability of our intensive farms and orchards.
Thanks, David. I'm not going to make it easy for you. If we flew you down to Wellington tomorrow, took you into the minister's office down there, what's the first thing you'd address with him around sustainability?
Around sustainability.
Mm.
Oh, it's a lot of power.
Yeah, I know.
Do a lot
You can
of
handle it.
that. No, I think actually a broader understanding is all we need. If we learn about our planet, and orchardists, we're on the land every day, and so we see the effects of what we do very easily. You know, you can see the difference if you put nitrogen on the soil. You can see what's happening. You can see what happens to the river later down if you put too much on. But there is a lot of New Zealand who don't know where their food comes from, who don't know what their impacts on the planet are, and so we need a broad spectrum approach of tackling that issue and increasing food literacy and increasing sustainability literacy. I think that's essential to establish some kaitiaki, as was what we spoke.
Well done. Very good. Our next speaker this afternoon is also a vegetable grower, along with Gurjant, and it's Esteban Ibanez.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. 5.5 billion is the total amount of land estimated, billion hectares is the total amount of land estimated by the FAO as probable land in the world. We are currently using just 1.5 billion. The vegetable industry is using 16.7 million, and from those, we are growing only 25,000 hydroponically. So these numbers are telling us that there's still a large proportion, at least in the vegetable industry, who uses soil to grow produce. As my colleague here said, the total amount of people now is 7.5 billion, which is estimated that it will grow up to 10 billion people by 2050. But it's also estimated that our probable land usage will go only up to 1.6. So we have two figures which are going up, but not proportionally. Also, we need to add to this equation that we have 0.3 billion hectares that are classified as marginal. So that leaves us growers with a big challenge to face in order to accomplish our duty, which is feeding the world. So, how can we face this challenge? Increasing the amount of probable land is not an option, because that will put down forest land in the world, which is highly needed for climate regulation. Increased yields is a yes, but being sustainable, definitely. I am one of those growers who tries to get the best return possible from more productive land, and that drives me to crop some bits of land up to 3 times in a year. And that makes me also wonder how a grower like me, or maybe like some of you here, who use our soil so intensively, can truly call ourselves sustainable. But I would like to tell you about some figures and concepts that we are doing constantly in Liederbrand, South Island. 80% of the total dry matter of our crop is on the roots. So when we put those roots back into our soil, we are putting a good amount of organic matter to it. We use tractors with GPS, which actually they help us reducing compaction. We use cover crops that they help us to decrease erosion, and minimum tillage that help us to look after the structure of our soil. So I will carry on talking about what the wonderful things that the Liederbrand does say, but what I could truly tell you is that yes, we can be sustainable. There is a sentence that it was said on the Horticultural Conference some time ago: change when you can and not when you have. It is my personal view that we are not in the can moment any longer. We cannot consider sustainability as an option or as an opportunity. We need to consider sustainability as a must, as a necessity. We are in the have moment now if we want to keep the world going. Thank you.
Thanks, Esteban. How much would you use technology at the moment to manage your ideas around sustainability where you are?
We are using a good amount of technology. As I mentioned here, some of them, like our tractors with GPS and some machines which are quite unique. But what we're trying to do as well, it's using technology, but also trying to use other resources like nature services. As an example, I'm using less chemicals now, and I'm using more microorganisms like trichodermas. And then at some point we'll be implementing more technologies, and hopefully that will help us to be more sustainable as well.
Okay, thank you. Our last speaker this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, is Dylan Peterson from Nelson.
Today I have 2 main points I'd like to discuss: land use in New Zealand and transport effectiveness. First up, are we using the land available to us effectively? Healthy soils are vital to growing healthy plants that need minimal intervention. We also have a great deal of knowledge on what nutrients and chemicals do to certain plants. We also know that horticulture is a sustainable use of land. Predictions say there will be an estimated 2.4 billion more people by 2050, and the amount of food produced will have to increase by 70% to meet that demand. But with land rapidly being used up for new residential developments, where will that produce be grown? I feel that for New Zealand to meet that demand, we need to move away from the dream of everybody owning their own home. We need to look to build up instead of out. Why not a house style farm? Do we also need to move away from pastoral farming in favour of sustainable crops, especially near waterways where we have the issues of leaching and runoff? I understand there's a big social and economic changes, but I feel there's options we need to look at if we ever want to become carbon neutral in New Zealand. And for my final point, farm to fork, how far has that food travelled? Transport sustainability is largely being measured by its effectiveness and its efficiency, as well as its environmental and climate impacts on the system. But are we transporting goods unnecessarily? I think we need to look at the food miles. How far is that produce actually travelled? From farm to pack house, from pack house to distribution centre, and finally from there to the supermarkets. This long distance transportation of produce is not very economical, especially as we look towards a future less reliant on fossil fuels. More distribution centres of smaller size and key locations will reduce unnecessary transport of produce and the costs associated with it. I say, bring back more local greengrocers and grow our own stores. In horticulture, sustainability seems to boil down to creating ways to grow plants and top quality produce without harming workers or the future generations. And I think that if that is not our ultimate goal, we'll find it very hard to adapt to this changing world we live in. As an industry, we face many challenges, but we are quick to adapt and strive to stay on top and provide great quality produce.
Thanks, Dylan. I'm interested in what you said there because do you think there will be a move back in some instances to smaller greengrocers, smaller markets in town?
Yes, I could definitely see a shift that way as a way of reducing costs and a bit of unnecessary travel, especially for some of the local market or juice fruit can be put on a roadside stall and be sold instead of going to juice or, yeah.
If I can indulge you for a second, I've got a house down the south coast of New South Wales, a little town called Narooma. And just up the road from that, Maruya is about 25 minutes up the road. It has a very famous organic market that people travel 2.5 hours from Canberra each week to go to on a Tuesday afternoon. And it's been featured on a number of television programs in Australia. And it's fascinating. It sells out in 50 minutes, so that it starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. A bell rings. I didn't know that the first time I went there. I would walk up to a store for Warrell